Hey, everybody. Jay Niblick here and Bryan
Bryan
Arzani.
Arzani, what's up?
Not much, man. How you been?
Man, just having a blast. Just continually thinking about what's it going to be like in 3 years to be wildly valuable to the market. I don't
Well,
know.
we already are. I think you are. So you're irreplaceable.
But here's the deal. It doesn't matter what I am today. It's what we're going to be. And that's what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
It is actually today's topic, which may, I think, probably span 3 or 4 of these 20-minute sessions, is help. I'm stuck and I need help as an independent business consultant, kicking it up to the next level of profitability or success or whatever, insert X here. So for those of you that are just joining in and hadn't seen any of the rest of this stuff, my name is Jay Niblick. I'm the founder and CEO of Intermetrics. And Bryan is the 16-year running now guy who's president of Intermetrics. And we're bringing out all this educational content because we work with thousands of consultants all over the world, and we help them understand how to establish, in some cases, but grow a profitable consulting practice. That's what we specialize in. What do we have, like 1,750 consultants in 52 countries now, I think. So
yeah,
we do 20 minutes. I'm getting ready to start the timer. I got it right here. So you'll see it when it goes off. You're going to hear the noise because, Bryan, why do we only do 20 minutes?
At the end of the day, here's the deal. If we got people who just like jumping on and watching some like educational deal and spending an hour, that's probably your biggest problem. That's why you're not having success. And so at the end of the day, the people that we attract and that we work with and that we truly help to be successful are those that value their time. They want, I think, Jay, we're in this society, this world, this culture of fast food, bite-sized knowledge that's immediately applicable that I can go do something with. So this isn't about hype, and it's not going to be some polished, really well edited deal. At the end of the day, if you got more than 20 minutes, you probably need to get a job.
I was going to say, our topic is helping you build a profitable practice. And Bryan's point, if you got an hour to listen to shit, that's your first problem. I don't think anyone in the world has ever described us as polished. So if the occasional S or F word annoy you or scare you, you may not want to be here either. So timer is going, 20 minutes. Topic is, how do I kick my consultancy up to the next level of profits? And as we'll teach here at Intermetrics, everything starts with problem, cause, solution. That's our formula. That's the diagnostic sales process that we use. And it's the diagnostic consulting process that we teach and we've created here. Problem, I'm stuck. I'm not making enough money. I'm not being enough, having enough success. So then we move to causes, and there's a lot of them. So Bryan, the first cause that you came up with when we were talking about this was, and then we'll talk solutions. Yeah. Thinking small. So expand on, when I said to you, what's one of the number one reasons why people aren't making the profits they want? You said, because they think small. So blow that up.
Jay, I love it because this is something that I've been challenged with a lot in my career, and I've had some great mentors around me, and they'll typically ask me just questions that cause me to reconsider my perspective of what's going on. But when you think about thinking small, let's just ask the folks that are watching this right now in terms of thinking. To get out a pen and a paper real quick, and do us a favor. Write down right now on a piece of paper, what are you worth per hour? Not what do you think or what do you want to be, but what are you worth per hour right now?
If I asked you as a prospect you're talking to, like not fictitiously, if I'm in a meeting and I literally said, as somebody you'd want me to hire, what are you worth? Like today, what would you put in writing? That literal?
Yeah, that literal, exactly. What are you worth per hour right now? So as hopefully all of you have, had the opportunity.
Write it down.
Yep.
Cool. Done.
So let me ask you this question. So as you think about that, rather than giving you an answer to this, here's a question for you. How did you come up with that number? Just ask yourself that. How did you come up with the number that you just wrote down? And where did you learn that? Who dictated to you that was what you were worth per hour? And here's what we find, Jay. A lot of times people give us answers back that say, well, you know what? The clients that I work with tell us that they've got a business process that won't allow them to go any higher than this $200 an hour, $250 an hour, or they've responded to a proposal and it's X per hour. And what's interesting about this concept of what am I worth per hour? A lot of folks will actually go out there and they'll write down exactly what they think that they are, and they'll line item it out, and they'll go, you know what, it's $200 an hour, it's a 6-hour program, so it's $1,200. And one of the things that we found in terms of this is that that is the biggest problem that people have when they start going down the path of saying, hey, you know what, I'm willing to agree that I'm going to follow what everybody else wants me to be and wants me to become. So what we found is that here's the deal. Let's just do an exercise. You're freezing, Jay. I don't know what's going on here.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So one of the things we found, I'm just going to walk through here. So one of the things we found is that when people actually go through this process, we ask them questions like how they come up with it. And then here's the challenge we give them. What would happen if I told you right now that you had to take exactly what you just said, this $200 an hour, and we told you it has to be times 2. It's got to be double what you just wrote down. And if not, we're going to take everything that you love and we're going to remove it. We're going to cut it in half. We're going to take it away. Here's a couple of questions for you. What would you have to become? What would you do more of and less of in order to be worth that $400 an hour, that $800 an hour, that $1,000 an hour? And here's the thing. Are we telling you to put that into a proposal, and are we telling you to go out there and do it? More often than not, I'll tell you right now, if you were to do that tomorrow, your clients or your prospects would laugh at you and go, are you kidding me? We've never spent that much money on a consultant. But here's the deal. The real question is what would you have to become in order to be worth $1,000 an hour? That's a tough question. And so it's not about, so we talk about problems, right? A lot of times the problem is our own belief about what it is that we bring. And so if my belief is that I sell you profiles, if my belief is I do training, if my belief is, I'm a trainer, I'm a consultant, here's the biggest problem with most of the people out there. And the consultants that we work with, that we help them grow truly amazing businesses, and amazing is relative. Your definition of success is going to be based on your own personal life belief of who you are. But one of the things that happens is our beliefs dictate exactly who we become. We are perfectly designed to get everything that we dream we are worth and valuable and are able to achieve. We get everything we believe we should. And so at the end of the day, one of the things we tell them is that what would you have to become in order to be worth that? And so rather than being a consultant or whatever you're solopreneur, people spend hours figuring this stuff out. I'll tell you what your title should be. Because as you look at this problem, cause, solution, that's our process. We help individuals and organizations figure out what the real problem is. And so here's the title that I have and I want to be known as. I'm the engineer of epiphanies. That's it. And when you get an organization or an individual or people to see things from a different perspective, how much is that really worth and what can they do with that? So the first thing in thinking bigger is, we can't just tell you to go out and set a goal and say, hey, I'm worth $1,000 an hour, I'm worth $500 an hour. The real question is going back into your own self. What's your belief and how did you arrive there? How did you decide that that's what you're worth? Because you know what? You're worth exactly what you think you're worth.
Well, and when we talk about thinking small, there's 2 facets to it. So thinking small on both sides. We see people that think small about their value, and we see people that think small about the solution. So I love, and it's not bullshit. I love that you're the engineer of epiphanies, and anybody that thinks that bullshit doesn't know you and doesn't understand the type of revenue that you generate. You built 2 7-figure companies doing this. So it speaks for itself. And the consultants that are in Intermetrics we have 96% retention rate, I think, or something around 97%. Yeah. They stay and they all grow and they get profitable. Those are 2 of the biggest factors. First, believe that you're worth more than you think you are, and you have to reassess that. And there's many other discussions we'll have about that, but let's branch off into this other topic for a minute. Stop thinking small solutions, and it's intertwined. I'm a trainer. That's thinking small. And I'm not insulting anyone who's just a trainer, but you guys have a training business, but you never ever walk out and go, I'm a trainer. That's like, I'm a trainer, or I do sales training. That you're providing solutions. When you think big, you're helping the organization improve its overall condition. That should be the mantra, like physicians, to do no harm, the overarching, overriding core objective that everything else follows after that. As a consultant, a business consultant, your mantra, in my opinion, should be to improve the organization's client's overall condition. That's big. I don't just want to come in and go, hey, I'm the guy that puts on the covers on the lights in your house. No, I'm the guy that makes the lighting in your entire house better. And that means energy efficiency and, remote lighting and LEDs. I don't want just somebody to come in. Think about the old man's things we always hear all the time too. I want a hole in the wall. I don't want the drill and the drill bit. If I could just go to the store and buy a piece of paper at Lowe's or Home Depot or something, and physics didn't count, and I could stick it on the wall and peel it back, and boom, there's a hole. Awesome. That's all I want's the hole. You want to deliver the hole, not be the tool. And they just
Right.
hide the tool, and we see it
Well,
all the time. So people think small. I'm not valuable enough. I'm only worth small hourly rates. Because the third thing that we talk about is I don't ever want to see anybody charge per hour unless they absolutely have to. And if you are, you're probably thinking small on a client level. That's the fourth thing we'll talk about in other calls. Bigger clients, somebody that comes out and says, here's an RFP or a request for proposal for somebody to come in and do a half-day training program. You're thinking small if that gets you excited.
Yeah.
So anyway,
more into that point, more often than not, if somebody says, "Hey, I want to do a half-day program," this is the great example of thinking big. What we coach and teach our consultants to do is, like Steve Sims in the book Blue Fishing, he says, "Don't be easy to understand, be impossible to misunderstand." I love that. But for what we teach our Intermetrics consultants to do, our CICs, is not to be memorable after you do. Let's just say you did a training event. Don't be memorable. Be impossible to forget. And how do we do that? So we let them know up front if they want to do, and so we'll chase the ambulance. We'll do the 4-hour training gig. But before we even do it, we let them know, because here's what happens. The human mind is not capable of just having a fictitious thought. Whatever we think about generally is part of our reality, and we can discount it and say we're not going to do it. So let's say you get that request for proposal. They say they want to do a half-day deal. The real question is what's the problem that they've identified that they're looking at, and what are the causes that have caused that problem? And here's the real question. Challenge their belief system. What would lead them to believe that a 4-hour training is going to fix something that's been systemic in their organization for, and here's another question. Have they ever trained on that? Go ahead.
That's it. But that's the key. You're thinking bigger. You can't walk up to a physician and say, I need a prescription. And that physician goes, she looks at you and goes, oh, okay. Well, please be the one to buy the prescription for me. No,
Totally.
She thinks big. He
right.
thinks huge. He goes, back up, Johnny. What's the real thing that's going on here? It's God, so many times I find the physician analogies work and those in sports, because people understand it. No one would ever expect to say, hey, I need some surgery. Can you come in and just write me a script for some physical therapy for this morning? They would always go, whoa, what's the big thing you're trying to solve?
Right.
There are a lot of consultants that get started and they're desperate and they're hungry and they see it as a transactional win, I got it, to go,
right.
Dude, I'm on it. So do a 4-hour training, do an 8-hour training, but you guys never would just say that, done, check box, here's the invoice for the 5-hour training, bye-bye.
Right.
Exchange my time for your money and I'm out the door. You always look at it, and our consultants always are taught to look at it and say, why? I'm not going to come in and deliver a 5-hour training if it's absolutely not going to be the problem with the sales leaders, because I'm just training the salespeople. You may deliver a smaller piece, but that's not thinking small. That's not being small. That's just doing a small piece of action in a bigger picture.
And so how we reverse engineer that back in, and what we teach them is to say, look, I'll do this, and we'll walk that conversation back through the, the problem, cause, solution. But then we'll say, look, here's the deal. I'll do what you've asked me to do, but here's what I'll tell you. If you really want results come from, and here's how you think bigger. You tell that individual, that client, you say, look, here's what I found. And I blame it on my experience, because my experience is not able to be argued with. And I say, typically organizations that want to solve this issue, whether that issue is in, having better communication issues, or, people actually, whatever the issue is, whatever it is, we tell them, look, you know what? That typically takes 24 to 36 months. So I understand that, looking at it and thinking that you're going to work with me for 36 months is probably way too big of a thing to get your head wrapped around. And in that very moment, ladies and gentlemen, consultants here on this call, the moment I've told them, typically organizations that want to solve that problem are looking at a 24 to 36 month engagement. Their head goes boom, and they go pop, and they're like, what? And then we walk them back and we tell them, the reason is because what's occurred is you have inherited exactly what your organization is perfectly designed to do. And it probably isn't the exact thing that you think that's causing it. So what we found is that over time, light touches, we can create a common language and install some skill sets with accountability that can allow you to take this root problem and understand all the causes that allow you to be empowered to get the solutions. And then now that I've talked a little bit about this 36-month contract, then we unpack them back to say, but we're not ready to go there. So we take that objection off the table and say, I can't ask you to go 3 years because here's what I don't know. I don't know if I want to work with you, and you sure as heck don't know if you want to work with me. But let's just look at this first 5 hour, 4 hour, 3 hour, whatever they want you to do. Let's look at it from that lens of, do you think that we should potentially continue this courtship? And then what you've done is you've reshaped that moment of us coming in for 4 hour, 3 hour, whatever that training is. You've given them a lens to look at you through. So as they watch you do this 3 hour event or this 4 hour event, you framed how they see you. This is psychologically powerful. So you can still do the 4 hour event, and you may still do it for whatever, but until you've gone and you've brought them into the bigger picture of working with you for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, because that's what it's going to take to really fix a systemic issue in the organization.
Well,
And then
that's
take,
what we see a lot of the consultants that have, I would say, lifelong, because they've been around for 30 years, but long-term clients that are doing minimum 12-month engagement, minimum 24-month, 2-year engagements. We always like to wrap these things up. We've got 6 minutes, so we got still plenty of time for us.
Well, let me just answer the question real quick. You said, Jay, we've looked at life cycle of clients. If you keep a client for 18 months, that's the life of a client today, right? And so you look at, and so we're taking them and putting them even 6 months further than what the life of a client is. So you're right, the lifelong existence of a client, because typically businesses get tired, or the consultant plays every golf club in their bag. And so it's about, how do we add more value, right?
Even if it's a 6 to 12-month gig, here's the number one limiting reason or belief behind somebody that says, thinking small, well, this is all I have value for. I can go in and do a 4-hour training, and that's all I got. Well, you're never going to be a super huge success if that's all you got. So here's the harsh reality on a final note from me. If the reason you're thinking small is because you have a small tool bag, go get a job. Okay. Don't come to play with the big boys in the NFL or the MLB or wherever you want to play with a small bag. If you think this is what I got, I can do 3 different types of training programs and that's it. What in the world would I do for 6 months? I don't understand. Then seriously, I mean, you're in the wrong, you read the E-Myth, you probably shouldn't be going out, because you have to have at least enough material and value to offer. Now we can help you increase the value with a lot of the stuff that we can put in your tool bag, but that's one of the reasons I see it. The other reason is people just don't believe. Well, who am I to think that I would be able to work at this level?
Right.
That's the CEO of a big company that makes way more than I do. And who am I to be saying, I can shape the overall department here, or your sales force, or help you. So stop limiting yourself. So the same thing comes true if you found yourself saying, I got a small hourly rate, and I'm going to even talk about that next time we talk about this, maybe very next 20-minute section. I hate hourly rates. I want to talk about value-based pricing, and that
based on outcomes, based on what they can do with it.
So we'll talk about that one on the next one. But
let me give a couple things real quick, Jay.
It's all about thinking bigger in that respect. Step back and think big, looking down at yourself. What am I doing strategically? Why am I even engaging with this little teeny thing? I could provide so much more. Do I use this as the tip of a spear to get in? And I start, as Bryan has just illustrated, broaching the topic on a bigger subject of what's the purpose behind all this training that you want to do for 5 hours for this one team. And let's focus on the real core problem, and then decide, is 5 hours of training going to do it or not? And then if it does, great. But my suspicion, you may be going in and doing more. But start with that in mind, write that down. I got to have a big tool bag. I can't go sell 6, 9, 12-month engagements if I don't have stuff to deliver. So that's one of the.
Well, and here's the thing, as we work with our CICs, and I'm just going to give a couple of real quick nuggets, and then we'll expand this more later. As we work with our certified intermetric consultants, I'll just give you right now, you take our entire advanced insights. Here's some things that we work on. Teaching organizations how to find, hire, retain better people than they have today. Our instruments typically bridge from selection and acquisition of talent all the way through the life cycle. That right there, a cool product can be thrown out there. Emerging leader identification. What does that process look like? Oh my gosh, it's a hot topic. How do we create engagement in the workplace at an individual level? How do we take existing folks and figure out what the capacity is to realign talent? Those are 3 of the tools that we start sticking in our consultants' bags with just the instruments that we have right at hand. I mean, so we've got so many tools that are just sitting there waiting to be utilized. And it's not about the fact that we have cool tools. I mean, Jay, you say this time and time again. It's teaching our consultants how to monetize it, add value on a level that they never thought before, because none of us are sitting here from a theoretical glass house going, hey, it could work if I lived in a, panacea of perfection. No, every day we're out there grinding to make sure that the market values what we do, how we do it, and our why. So, man, it is thinking big, Jay.
It
And
is.
the mother of invention is necessity, right?
Yeah, like I'm starving to death and I need to go out and get my business. That's usually the people we love to work with because they've actually stepped off. I don't want somebody who's fat and happy and satiated. I want somebody who's hungry, because if you really want to grow this practice of yours to those levels, you got to be hungry.
Yep.
You got to want it. And there's a variety of reasons you want it. Summing up in my analogy world that I always live in, you have certain tools. And if all you know how to do, all you think you know how to do is build a front porch for your front door, you can walk around and say, hey, you want a little awning over your front porch? I can do that. But you're using a whole suite of tools, drills and levels and hammers and saws and planers and routers and all this stuff. That same set of tools could be used to put walls up, take walls down, build new stairs, put a porch on the back, a cover of that. Start thinking in the organization, the tools that Bryan's talking about, all of those levels. I could be doing leadership development, coaching, training, team development, succession planning, emerging leaders, as he talked about, hiring. This is what you got to have in your mind to say, I'm going to broaden my tool set and the applications of it. So there's, I wouldn't say endless, but there's just almost unlimited potential on where in an organization you could work. The size of the organization limits it more than anything. If you've got 50 people, then there's only so much you could do. But you don't have to be with a huge organization to stay with them many, many years.
Now, we've got a couple of CICs out there that specifically specialize in 50 employees and under, and they have incredibly successful practices, and they find the HVACs, the plumbing, the heating and cooling, the different, and they've just found a way to do that in these construction-based blue-collar businesses, window cleaning. It's amazing what that necessity creates in terms of the offering to the market. I mean, so as we continue to talk on other sessions here, Jay, on your genius for your business, how do I create, and we're going to talk about that, I think, in another session here too, is we're going to talk about how do I revitalize, how do I reignite a practice that,
there's 20.
It's over, baby. Woo!
Go sell something, folks.